Willow Vance slowed down as her headlights illuminated a lone silhouette walking along the dirt road. It was almost 9 at night, and this was no time for anyone to be walking in the middle of nowhere. Must be a farmhand stranded at the farm, she thought, observing the man in work uniform with a backpack on his shoulder. She pulled her car over a few yards ahead and got out. "Hi, is everything okay? Do you need anything?" The man approached slowly, and Willow could make out a tired but kind face. He was tall, with slightly disheveled dark hair and hands stained with dirt. He looked like he'd spent the day working hard. "My truck broke down back there," he explained, pointing in the direction he had come from. "I was walking into town. I don't want to be a bother." "No bother at all. Get in. It's getting dark and it might rain." Willow opened the back door, revealing carefully organized cardboard boxes. "Excuse the clutter. I'm just coming back from Meadowbrook Farm. I picked up ingredients for the sweets I make." The man hesitated for a moment, as if he wasn't accustomed to kindness from strangers. Willow noticed his hesitation and smiled more openly. "Come on, I'm not going to abduct you," she joked. "I'm Willow Vance, the sweet maker from the farmer's market." "And you?" "Ethan," he replied, finally accepting the ride. "Ethan Blackwood. Nice to meet you, Ethan. Have you worked at Meadowbrook for long?" Willow got back behind the wheel, resuming the drive towards town. The car was simple, well-maintained, with a vanilla air freshener and classic country tunes playing softly. "For a while," Ethan replied, settling into the seat. He observed the car's interior with curiosity. Everything about it breathed simplicity and care. It was completely different from the world he was used to. "I always go to Meadowbrook to get ingredients. Jesse helps me pick out the best produce. Today I brought guava, pumpkin, and some local honey for my treats." Willow spoke naturally, her eyes attentive to the road. "You must know him, right? He's the most beloved foreman in the region." Ethan smiled involuntarily. "I do know him. He's a good person. He really is. So tell me, do you like working on the farm? I always thought it must be so rewarding to tend the land, to see things grow." The question caught Ethan off guard. No one had ever asked him if he liked what he did. They always assumed so, after all. He owned it all. But now, being treated like an ordinary employee, he allowed himself an honest answer. "I like the practical part more than, well, the administrative part," he said, looking at his still dirt-stained hands. "Just today I spent the afternoon fixing irrigation. It's good to work with your hands." "I totally get that. I also prefer being in the kitchen making sweets than dealing with paperwork. Bureaucracy drives me crazy." Willow laughed, and Ethan felt something loosen in his chest. When was the last time someone had laughed so naturally in his presence? They continued chatting about Willow's grandmother's recipes, about the difficulty of maintaining old traditions in modern times, about the pleasure of creating something with one's own hands. Ethan listened more than he spoke, fascinated by the passion with which she described her work. "Sometimes it's hard," Willow confessed as they approached town. "People think homemade sweets are old-fashioned, that they won't make a living. But I believe they do. They have history, they have heart, they have soul." Ethan nodded, understanding more than she imagined about the challenges of staying authentic. "You're right. Not everything old is obsolete." Willow parked in the town square, near the old church on Main Street. "Where can I drop you off?" "Here is perfect." "Thank you so much for the ride, Willow." Ethan got out of the car and leaned in to thank her through the window. "You're welcome. It was a pleasure having company." She picked up a small jar from one of the boxes in the back seat. "Take this. It's pumpkin spice jam with toasted pecans. My grandmother always said it's good for the heart." Ethan accepted the gift, feeling the still warm jar in his hands. "Thank you, really. Come by the farmer's market on Sunday, Willow's Sweet Treat stall. There'll be fresh pumpkin spice jam and other delights." She waved and drove off, leaving Ethan alone in the square. Walking home, Ethan found himself smiling. In his hands, the little jar of jam seemed to carry more than just sugar and pumpkin. It carried a genuine kindness he hadn't received in years. For the first time in a long time, someone had been kind to him without knowing who he was, without expecting anything in return. But a question bothered him as he climbed the stairs to his penthouse. Would it be possible to maintain that simplicity when Willow discovered who he really was? Ethan woke up on Saturday with the taste of pumpkin spice jam still lingering in his memory. He had tasted the dessert the night before, and the flavor surprised him. It wasn't just sweet. There were layers that brought back childhood, his grandmother's house, memories he thought he had lost among meetings and reports. Sitting in his minimalist kitchen, he looked at the empty jar on the marble counter. Everything there was impeccable, expensive, cold. When was the last time he had felt the same warmth he had experienced in Willow's simple car? The phone rang. It was Graham, his lawyer. "Ethan, the investors are concerned about your recent exposure. You were seen at the farmer's market buying sweets. They prefer you keep a low profile." Ethan sighed. Even the simplest moments were catalogued, judged. "I understand." After hanging up, he decided to go out. Without a specific destination, he ended up walking to the town square. It was Saturday morning, farmer's market day. The stalls were already set up. Vendors were organizing products. There was a different energy in the air. People talking, laughing, negotiating with familiarity. He found Willow's stall in the corner of the square. She was arranging jars of sweets on a table with a checkered tablecloth. She wore a floral apron and her hair was tied in a messy bun. When she saw him, her face lit up. "Ethan, what a pleasant surprise. Has your truck been fixed yet?" "Not yet, but everything's fine. I came to see if that sweet wasn't just beginner's luck," he replied, feeling more relaxed than in any meeting. Willow laughed. "Doubting the quality? Then you'll have to try everything." She started opening jars, offering samples. Creamy caramel spread, toasted coconut chews, and my specialty, peanut brittle. Ethan tasted each one, making expressions of genuine approval. "It's all delicious. How did you learn?" "From my grandma Clara. She lived on a small farm and made sweets to sell in town. She taught me all the secrets." Willow showed an old photo. "She used to say that every sweet has to be made with care. Otherwise it's no good." Ethan looked at the photo, a smiling elderly woman next to a little girl who was clearly Willow. She seemed special. She was. "She taught me that no matter what you do, if you do it with passion, it will succeed." "And you? Do you have special childhood memories?" The question caught Ethan unexpectedly. His memories were rigid, nannies, constant expectations. But there was one. "My grandmother also made sweets. I would sit and watch her cook. The smell was similar to your stall." "And did she teach you any recipes?" Ethan shook his head melancholically. "No. My grandfather used to say that men in our family didn't need to know such things." Willow looked at him with understanding. "It's never too late to learn. If you want, I can teach you how to make pumpkin spice jam. It's easier than it looks." "You would do that?" "Of course. Good knowledge is meant to be shared. How about Sunday afternoon?" Ethan hesitated. Sunday was the obligatory family dinner. But looking at Willow, at her genuine smile, he made a decision that surprised him. Sunday afternoon would be perfect. Willow wrote down her address. "I live in a cozy bungalow, nothing fancy." "On the contrary," Ethan replied honestly. "I'm looking forward to it." He bought enough sweets for a week, just to prolong the conversation. When he said goodbye, Ethan felt as if he had gained something precious. The promise of an afternoon without protocols, just learning from someone who loved what they did. Walking home, he wondered when was the last time he had felt genuinely excited about a social engagement. And why did that feeling scare him as much as it delighted him? Ethan parked in front of a small house painted light yellow. The half-open gate revealed a simple garden, roses, basil, and a herb patch. It was the opposite of his family estate, but there was something about it that made him feel at home. Willow appeared at the door. "Ethan, you're right on time." She wore the same floral apron from the farmer's market, her hair loose, framing her face. "Sorry if I'm intruding on your Sunday," he said, offering a bottle of wine. "Nonsense, I love teaching. Thanks for the wine, but here the official drink is guava juice." Willow laughed, leading him inside. "Come on, I want to show you my sweet sanctuary." The house was small but cozy. Simple furniture, photographs on the walls, plants in every corner. The kitchen caught his eye. Cast iron pots hanging, glass jars with spices, a wood-burning stove next to the conventional one. "My grandmother used to say the kitchen is the heart of the home," Willow explained. "Sit down and let's get started." Ethan settled onto a stool, watching Willow separate ingredients. Cubed pumpkin, coconut milk, sugar, cinnamon. There was a ritual in every gesture. First lesson: sweets can't be rushed. If you hurry, it goes wrong. Willow heated a large pot. The pumpkin needs to cook slowly with care. How so? Watch this. She added the cubes with water. I let it soften first without sugar. Sugar burns easily. And meanwhile, we chat. Sweets made in silence have no soul. Ethan smiled. Your grandmother taught you that? She taught me that cooking is an act of love. When you put care into it, the result is better. Willow stirred the pumpkin. And you? What do you do when you're not working? The question caught him off guard. I don't have much free time. Work takes up almost everything. But you must have something you enjoy just for pleasure, Ethan thought. I like walking through the farm early in the morning, before things get busy. It's the quietest time. There you go, see? You do have things you enjoy. You just need to value them more. Willow tested the pumpkin. Perfect. Now the delicate part. She began adding sugar little by little, stirring constantly. Too much sugar becomes cloyingly sweet. Too little is bland. You have to find balance. She offered him the spoon. What do you think? Ethan tasted it. It's good, but something's missing. Exactly. It lacks personality. Willow picked up a jar of spices. Cinnamon, clove, ginger. Every sweet maker has their secret. Which do you choose? Cinnamon. I've always loved the smell. Willow added a cinnamon stick, and the aroma changed, becoming comforting. Now that's it. While they waited, she brewed coffee in a vintage percolator. My mom says I should modernize the kitchen, but I like Grandma's things. They have history. I understand. Sometimes old things have more value than new ones. You think so? Willow seemed surprised. I thought your generation was more into technology. Ethan laughed. How old do you think I am? Mid-30s? But you have a more mature way about you than guys my age. Maybe it's the weight of responsibility. Willow observed him curiously, but didn't press. She tested the sweet. Ready? Want to taste your first recipe? Ethan tasted it while still warm and closed his eyes. It was different. It had his personality, his cinnamon. It's incredible. Congratulations. Now comes the best part. Willow served it in bowls. Eating on the porch, watching the sunset. It's a tradition. They sat in rocking chairs with the golden afternoon spreading over the town. Ethan felt more at peace than he had in years. There was no agenda, no people to impress. Just him, Willow, and simplicity. Thank you, he said, looking at her, for teaching me, for welcoming me. It's been a long time since I felt so myself. Willow smiled, and Ethan realized he was in dangerous territory, not just because of the feeling of normalcy, but because he was starting to like Willow too much, and he still didn't know how she would react when she discovered who he really was. 3 weeks passed since the afternoon in Willow's kitchen, and Ethan had established a new routine. Every Sunday morning, he would dress in simple clothes and walk to the farmer's market, always with the excuse of buying sweets for the week. In truth, what he wanted most was to see Willow smile when she spotted him arriving. My most loyal customer, she would joke whenever she saw him approaching her stall. You'll turn into a sweet yourself from all the sugar you consume. On that sunny March morning, Ethan arrived earlier than usual. Willow was still organizing the jars, and he offered to help. Let me give you a hand with that, he said, picking up a heavy box. Thanks. I woke up late today. I was up late last night finishing a special order. Willow pointed to a shelf with elaborate little sweets. Delicate wedding cookies for a wedding at the Hendersons' farm. Ethan observed the delicate work. Small sweets wrapped in golden paper, perfect bows, an impeccable presentation. It looks beautiful. You're very talented. Thank you. Willow blushed slightly. Sometimes I dream of having my own shop, you know? A place where I can take larger orders, have a more equipped kitchen. But for now, the farmer's market is fine. Why just for now? Can't you expand? Willow sighed, arranging the last jars. It's complicated. Licenses, permits, initial capital. And there's the competition too. The big bakeries in town don't much care for a farmer's market sweet maker gaining important clients. Ethan frowned. What do you mean, don't care for? Oh, you know how it is. They say homemade sweets aren't up to standard, that it's not professional. Some have even tried to convince me to stop taking event orders. Willow shrugged, but Ethan noticed the subject bothered her more than she let on. Before he could respond, an elegant woman approached the stall. Ethan recognized her immediately. It was Celeste Harrison, wife of one of the biggest merchants in town and a frequent client of the Blackwood family businesses. "Willow, dear." Celeste kissed the sweetmaker's cheek with exaggeration. "How are you?" "I'm well, Mrs. Harrison. What can I get for you today?" "Actually, I came to cancel the order for the Thursday afternoon tea sweets." Celeste spoke with a falsely apologetic tone. "We changed our minds and decided to order from a more established bakery." Ethan saw Willow's face close slightly. "That's fine. I can return the deposit tomorrow." "No need to rush, dear. And look." Celeste leaned in as if to tell a secret. "A friendly piece of advice. Be careful with the company you keep. Sometimes certain associations can hurt your business." Ethan felt his blood run cold. Celeste was looking directly at him as she spoke. "What kind of associations?" Willow asked, confused. "Oh, never mind. You understand." Celeste waved her hand and walked away, leaving a heavy atmosphere in the air. Willow remained silent for a few moments, reorganizing jars that were already organized. Ethan realized she was disturbed.
"Willow, what did she mean by that?" "I don't know." Willow avoided his gaze. "But lately some old clients have been canceling orders. I thought it was a coincidence, but what?" Willow looked at him directly for the first time since Celeste had left. "Ethan, are you sure you're not hiding anything from me?" The question hit Ethan like a punch to the gut. Here was the moment he had dreaded, arriving unexpectedly and cruelly. "Why do you ask that?" "Because for 3 weeks you've shown up here every Sunday, buying sweets you can't even eat by yourself, treating me like I'm the most interesting person in the world. But I know almost nothing about you." Willow crossed her arms. "You work on the farm, but your hands are soft. You talk about responsibilities as if you carry the world on your shoulders. And now people are giving me advice about company." Ethan opened his mouth to reply, but the words wouldn't come out. How to explain without sounding like he had deceived her? How to tell the truth without losing that simplicity that had become so precious to him? "I can explain," he finally said. "Then explain." Willow looked at him directly, without hostility, but with a seriousness Ethan had never seen in her. Ethan looked around. The farmer's market was busy, full of curious ears. "This isn't the place. Can I meet you later, after you close your stall?" Willow hesitated, then nodded. "In the town square at 5 o'clock. Ethan bought some sweets as he always did, but this time the ritual felt empty. He said goodbye with a "see you later" full of anxiety and walked home with a heavy heart. For the first time in weeks, a Sunday would not end with the feeling of lightness that Willow brought to his life. Instead, he would have to face the possibility of losing her, before he even had the courage to say what she meant to him. At 5 o'clock, Ethan sat on a bench in the town square, watching Willow approach with determined steps. She had changed out of her apron into a simple blouse, but her expression still carried the seriousness of their morning encounter. "So?" Willow sat beside him, maintaining a respectful distance. "Now can you explain what's going on?" Ethan took a deep breath. He had rehearsed several versions of this conversation throughout the afternoon, but none seemed adequate. "Willow, I didn't mean to deceive you. It was never my intention." "Deceive me how?" "My name really is Ethan Blackwood, but I'm not an employee at Meadowbrook Farm." He paused, searching for the right words. "I own it." Willow blinked a few times, processing the information. "You own it?" "Meadowbrook Farm has belonged to my family for 3 generations. I manage the businesses." Ethan watched her expression gradually change from confusion to comprehension. "You're the Ethan Blackwood, the businessman?" Willow's voice became quieter. "I am." Willow abruptly stood up and took a few steps, running her hands through her hair. "Oh my God, Ethan, have you been making a fool of me this whole time?" "No." "Willow, please let me explain." Ethan stood up too. "That night when you offered me a ride, it was the first time in years someone treated me like a normal person, without ulterior motives, without hidden agendas. And you thought deceiving me was the solution? I wasn't trying to deceive anyone. I just didn't correct your initial impression.
and then it became difficult to tell the truth without it seeming like I had planned everything. Willow glared at him, her eyes glistening with anger. You know what bothers me most? It's not even the fact that you're rich, it's that you let me talk about my life, my problems, my dreams, while you knew you could solve everything with the snap of a finger. It doesn't work that way, Willow. It doesn't? Then explain how it works, because I clearly don't understand the world of the wealthy. The irony in her voice cut Ethan like a blade. Willow, listen. I know I made a mistake by not telling you sooner, but my feelings for you are genuine. What happened between us is real. What feelings, Ethan? You don't even really know me. You were playing at being poor for a few hours on Sunday. To you, I was an exotic pastime. That's not true, and you know it. Ethan took a step towards her. You showed me a simplicity I never knew. You taught me that life can be more than meetings and obligations. You made me remember who I wanted to be before they made me who I am. Willow shook her head. Pretty words. But now I understand why my clients are abandoning me. Someone must have seen you at my stall and started spreading rumors that I'm gold digging. Willow, I can fix this. How? By buying a bakery for me? By paying my clients to come back? Willow laughed humorlessly. You don't understand, Ethan. I built my reputation brick by brick. Now because of you, it's crumbling. Because of me? Willow, I never asked you to get involved with me. The words came out harsher than Ethan intended, and he immediately regretted them. Willow recoiled as if she had been slapped. You're right. I was the fool for thinking a man like you could truly be interested in a farmer's market sweetmaker. She picked up the bag she had left on the bench. Thanks for clarifying things. Willow, wait. But she was already walking towards the street, and Ethan stood paralyzed in the square, knowing he had just lost the best thing that had ever happened in his life. And the worst part was, she was right. He really didn't understand how the world worked for people like her. What hurt most was realizing that by trying to protect a moment of authenticity, he had destroyed any chance of something real happening between them. On Monday morning, Ethan arrived at the farm earlier than usual. He had spent the night awake, replaying every word of his conversation with Willow, every expression of disappointment on her face. Work had always been his refuge in difficult times, but this time not even routine could calm his mind. Morning, Mr. Blackwood, Jesse, the foreman, greeted, noticing his boss's grim expression. Everything okay? Morning, Jesse. Shall we check Field 2's irrigation? They walked through the crop rows in silence until Jesse decided to break the ice. Mr. Blackwood, can I ask you a question? Sure. Do you know Willow, the sweetmaker from the farmer's market? Ethan stopped walking. Why? Well, she showed up here yesterday late afternoon, said she wanted to return something. Jesse pulled a small glass jar from his pocket. Asked me to give it to you. Ethan immediately recognized the container. It was the same one Willow had given him on their first night, when she offered him a ride. He took the empty jar, feeling the weight of all the symbolism in that gesture. Did she say anything else? Only asked me to say she was settling her debts. Jesse scratched his head. I didn't quite understand, but she seemed a little upset. Ethan put the jar in his shirt pocket. Thank you, Jesse. The rest of the morning passed in a haze of meetings and reports that Ethan barely managed to follow. In the afternoon, he decided to go to town to handle some banking matters, but ended up detouring to pass through the town square. Monday's market was smaller than Sunday's, more focused on vegetables and basic produce. Ethan looked for Willow's stall but didn't find it. He approached an elderly woman selling cheeses at the stall next to Willow's usual spot. Excuse me, did Willow not come today? The woman examined him with curiosity. Didn't you hear? She lost her spot at the market. What do you mean, lost? City Hall said she was in violation. They came here early this morning and dismantled everything. The woman shook her head sadly. Poor girl, she worked so hard. Ethan felt the ground shift beneath his feet. But she had all her licenses in order. She did. But it seems they changed the rules. They talked about urban revitalization or something like that. The woman leaned in confidentially. Between you and me, I think someone powerful didn't like her selling here. Ethan left the town square with a heavy heart. He drove directly to City Hall, where he managed to get a meeting with Mayor David Miller, an old acquaintance of the family. Ethan, what a surprise to see you here. David stood up to greet him. How can I help? David, I need to understand what happened with Willow Vance's license at the market. The mayor hesitated slightly. Ah, the sweet maker. It was a technical decision. We're reorganizing public space. Technical decision or political pressure? Ethan, you know how it is. Sometimes we receive suggestions from the business community. Nothing against the young lady, but some influential people felt certain elements were causing, how shall I put it, embarrassment. What kind of embarrassment? David sighed. Look, between us, rumors circulated about you and the sweetmaker. Nothing serious, but you understand. Your image is important to all of us. Some investors were concerned. Ethan felt a cold anger take over him. So you destroyed an innocent person's livelihood to protect my image? It wasn't like that. We just thought it best to avoid misunderstandings. David, I want you to reverse that decision. Today. Ethan, it's not that simple. We've already redistributed the spaces. There's paperwork involved. Ethan stood up, leaning his hands on the desk. David, my family invests a lot of money in this town. We create jobs, we pay taxes, we contribute to development. Do you really want me to reconsider that partnership because of a petty persecution? The mayor paled. No need to threaten, Ethan. I'll see what I can do. I'm not threatening. I'm resolving. Ethan walked towards the door. And David, Willow is back at the farmer's market this week, with a better spot than before. Leaving City Hall, Ethan felt both powerful and miserable. He had gotten what he wanted, but he knew Willow would be furious if she discovered his interference. She had made it clear she didn't want his help, and now he was doing exactly what she feared most, using his power to solve her problems. Driving back home, Ethan realized he was at a crossroads. He could continue trying to fix things his way, with money and influence, or he could try to truly understand what Willow had tried to teach him about authenticity and respect. The empty jar in his car's glove compartment seemed to weigh more than any business responsibility he had ever carried. On Tuesday night, Ethan was in his home office when he received an unexpected call. It was his Aunt Eleanor, the family matriarch since his parents' death. Ethan, I need to talk to you. Tomorrow, at lunch. About what, Aunt? You know very well about what. Her voice had that tone Ethan had known since childhood, the tone that accepted no discussion. The next day, Ethan arrived at the family estate, an imposing mansion in the best neighborhood in town. Eleanor was waiting for him in the dining room, elegant as always, but with a serious expression Ethan rarely saw. Sit, Ethan. We need to discuss this situation with the sweetmaker. What situation? Ethan tried to keep his voice neutral. Don't play dumb with me, young man. The whole town is talking. You've been seen at the farmer's market at her house, buying sweets like a lovesick teenager. Eleanor poured wine into 2 glasses. This needs to stop. Why? Because it doesn't fit the family image? Exactly. She looked at him without hesitation. Ethan, you're 34 years old. It's time to fully take on the responsibilities your father left. That includes appropriate personal choices. Appropriate for whom? For your position, for your businesses, for your future. Eleanor sighed. Listen, I have nothing against the girl. I'm sure she's an honest, hardworking person. But you two are from different worlds. Ethan laughed humorlessly. The same conversation Grandpa had with Dad, that great-grandpa had with Grandpa. And they were right. Look at what we've built by maintaining our values and traditions. Eleanor gestured around the luxurious room. Do you want to throw all that away for a whim? Whim? Ethan stood up. Aunt, for the first time in my life I felt authentic beside someone. Willow showed me that there's a way to live that isn't based on appearances and obligations. Authentic? Eleanor also stood up. Ethan, you're a Blackwood. Your authenticity is tied to the responsibility you carry, to the jobs you create, to the people who depend on you. What if I want to carry that responsibility alongside someone I love? You love her? Her question came loaded with disbelief. Ethan, you've known this woman for a few weeks? That's not love, it's a fantasy. Ethan remained silent, processing his aunt's words. Was it really a fantasy? Were his feelings for Willow real, or just the charm of novelty? Besides, Eleanor continued, do you think she'd take you back after discovering who you are? Ordinary people have pride, Ethan. She must be feeling humiliated. I can talk to her, explain, and say what? That you lied to her because you found it amusing to play at being common? Eleanor shook her head. Young man, you wounded her pride. That's not easily mended. Ethan sat down heavily. His aunt wasn't completely wrong. Willow really seemed humiliated and he had no idea how to fix it. What do you want me to do? To be who you were born to be. Take your place in society, find someone of your social standing, build a family that honors the Blackwood name. Eleanor approached and placed a hand on his shoulder. Ethan, I know it seems harsh, but it's for your own good. What if I can't forget her? You will. We always manage to forget what doesn't suit us. Eleanor returned to her seat. By the way, I received an invitation for you. Dinner at the Harrisons on Saturday. Their daughter, Brooke, just returned from Paris. She's a well-educated, beautiful young woman from our social class. Ethan looked at his aunt with a mixture of disbelief and anger. Are you trying to set me up for marriage? I'm trying to show you alternatives. Brooke would be a suitable companion for a man in your position. Ethan stood up again. Aunt, I need to go. Ethan, think about what we discussed. You have an entire life ahead of you. Don't let a moment of weakness destroy your future. Leaving the mansion, Ethan felt more confused than ever. Eleanor's words echoed in his mind. Was what he felt really a fantasy? Was he being unfair to Willow, insisting on an impossible relationship? Driving through town, he passed by Willow's yellow house. The windows were closed. There was no movement. For the first time since he met her, Ethan wondered if it wouldn't be better for everyone if he simply disappeared from her life. But the empty jar in the car's glove compartment seemed to tell him it was too late to turn back. He had tasted simplicity, genuine love, authenticity. How could he pretend it had never existed? Willow was in her kitchen, stirring a pot of caramel spread with mechanical movements, when her neighbor, Mrs. Perkins, knocked on the front door. Willow, dear, may I come in? Of course, Mrs. Perkins. Would you like some coffee? The older woman entered carefully, observing the cardboard boxes scattered around the living room. Are you moving? No. Willow sighed, continuing to stir the caramel. I'm organizing things from the farmer's market. Since I lost my spot, I need to decide what to do with all this. Mrs. Perkins sat down at the kitchen table. Willow, can I say something? Go ahead. This city hall business. Everyone knows it was foul play. You always had your papers in order. Willow stopped stirring the caramel and looked at her neighbor. And what can I do? I can't afford a lawyer. I don't have the connections. But you know influential people now, don't you? What are you talking about? Mrs. Perkins hesitated. Willow, the whole town saw you with Ethan Blackwood. Everyone knows he could solve this with a conversation. Willow felt her face flush. Mrs. Perkins, I'm not going to ask anyone for favors, especially not him. Why? Pride? It's not pride. It's dignity. Willow turned off the stove and sat facing her neighbor. Mrs. Perkins, what I built here was with my own sweat. I'm not going to owe favors to a rich man, even if it means giving up your dream. The question hit Willow hard. My dream will have to wait, or find another path. And what will that path be? Willow had no answer. She had spent the last few days trying to find alternatives, but all doors seemed closed. The bakeries in town weren't hiring, and starting her own business was out of the question without capital. I don't know yet, she admitted. Mrs. Perkins stood up and took Willow's hands. Dear, sometimes accepting help isn't weakness. It's intelligence. After her neighbor left, Willow remained seated in the kitchen, watching the caramel spread cool in the pot. Her grandmother always said that caramel was like life. It required patience and humility. If you tried to rush the process or were too proud to stir constantly, everything would go wrong. The phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. Willow? It's Celeste Harrison. Willow frowned. Hi, Mrs. Harrison. Dear, I'm calling to make a proposition. How about you come work at my bakery? I need someone experienced in traditional sweets. Work as what? As an employee. Fixed salary, benefits without the complications of owning your own business. Willow was silent. The offer was tempting. Financial stability, no risks. But it meant giving up independence, creativity, everything she had built. Can I think about it? Of course, dear. But don't take too long. I have other interested candidates. After hanging up, Willow felt even more confused. It was as if the universe was conspiring for her to give up her dreams and accept an inferior position. First losing her spot at the farmer's market, now receiving a job offer from someone who used to be a client. She decided to go for a walk and ended up passing by the town square. It was Thursday afternoon, and the small midweek market was open. Willow observed the stalls with a mixture of nostalgia and sadness. This was her place, where she had built her reputation brick by brick. "Willow!" She turned and saw Jesse, the foreman from Meadowbrook Farm, approaching with a friendly smile. "Hi, Jesse. How are you?" "Good. And you? I heard you had trouble at the market." Willow nodded without going into details. "Look, I don't know if it's my business, but Ethan seems a bit downcast too." "He's not my Ethan, Jesse. Sorry, but, well, he was always a distant boss, you know? Polite, fair, but distant. After he started coming to the market, he changed. He became more approachable, smiled more, talked to us." Willow looked at Jesse in surprise. Now he's back to how he was before. Maybe worse. He works too much, barely talks to anyone. Jesse scratched his head. "I don't know what happened between you two, but he looks like a man full of regrets." "Jesse, it's complicated, I imagine. But Willow, can I offer an opinion?" She nodded. "Sometimes we hurt ourselves so much defending our pride that we forget to defend our happiness." Jesse's words echoed in Willow's mind as she walked back home. Was it pride she was feeling? Or just the self-preservation instinct of someone who learned that nothing in life comes for free? Looking at the boxes scattered around the living room, Willow wondered if she wasn't being too stubborn. What if Ethan really cared about her? What if there was a way to reconcile dignity with second chances? On Friday morning, Willow was tidying up the last boxes when she heard a firm knock on the door. She opened it and was surprised to see a man in a suit, well-dressed, with an executive briefcase in his hand. "Good morning. Are you Willow Vance?" "I am. How can I help you?" "I'm attorney Benjamin Hayes. I'm here to discuss your situation at the municipal market." Willow frowned. "I don't understand. I didn't hire any lawyer. You don't need to worry about fees. I'm here for a matter of justice." He opened his briefcase. "May I come in? I have some important information to share." Reluctantly, Willow invited him in. The lawyer sat in the simple living room and arranged some papers on the coffee table. "Ms. Vance, I investigated your situation at City Hall and discovered some irregularities in the process that resulted in the loss of your license." "What kind of irregularities?" "First, the change in regulations was applied retroactively, without the legal grace period. Second, you were not officially notified of the changes. Third, there is evidence of external pressure on the decision." Willow leaned forward. "Pressure from whom?" "Some local merchants. Specifically bakery owners who felt threatened by your growing clientele." The lawyer showed some documents. "I have copies of emails and meeting minutes here that prove this pressure." "How did you get this information?" "Let's just say I have some contacts at City Hall who believe in justice." Attorney Hayes smiled discreetly. "The important thing is that I can reverse this decision. Legally, you have every right." Willow was silent, processing the information. "Attorney, can I ask you a direct question?" "Of course. Who is really paying you, because I know I don't have money for this kind of service?" The lawyer hesitated for a moment. "Ms. Vance, with all due respect, sometimes we have clients who prefer anonymity, people who believe in justice and can afford to sponsor important causes." "Ethan Blackwood." It wasn't a question, it was a statement. The lawyer neither confirmed nor denied, but his expression said it all. Willow stood up abruptly. "Attorney, I appreciate your visit, but I don't need charity disguised as justice. Ms. Vance, with all due respect, you are making a mistake. Regardless of who is financing it, your cause is legitimate. You were unfairly harmed. I know that, but I'll fix it my way." "And what is your way?" "Accepting Celeste Harrison's offer to work as an employee in her bakery?" Willow stopped walking towards the door. "How do you know that?" "Because she was the one who orchestrated this whole situation. Celeste and other merchants pressured City Hall to get you out of the market. The goal was always to force you to accept a subordinate position." The words hit Willow like a punch to the gut. "Are you saying all this was planned?" "Exactly. You became a threat to them. Your sweets were better, cheaper, and you were gaining important clients. So they decided to eliminate you from the competition." Willow sat down again, feeling dizzy. "But then, Ethan had nothing to do with me losing my spot. On the contrary, when he found out what had happened, he was furious. He was the one who sought me out to investigate the case." The lawyer put away his papers. "Ms. Vance, may I offer some personal advice?" She nodded. "Sometimes we confuse pride with dignity. Mr. Blackwood isn't trying to buy your gratitude. He's trying to right a wrong. There's a difference." After the lawyer left, Willow sat in the empty living room, replaying everything she had discovered. Ethan wasn't the villain of the story. In fact, he had been the only one to try and defend her when she didn't even know it. She thought of the harsh words she had said to him in the square, the unfair accusations, the cold way she had ended everything between them. Ethan had lied about his identity, yes, but his intentions were never malicious. For the first time in a week, Willow smiled. Not a smile of victory, but of understanding. Ethan had found his way of saying, "I care about you," not with money or gifts, but by fighting for her justice. She grabbed her car keys and left the house with a clear destination in mind. It was time for an honest conversation, without wounded pride or misunderstandings. It was time to find out if there was still something real to be built between them. Willow drove to Meadowbrook Farm, her heart pounding. She had mentally rehearsed several versions of what she would say to Ethan, but all the words seemed inadequate to express the mixture of gratitude, regret, and hope she felt. At the farm's gate, the guard recognized her immediately. "Hi, Willow. Haven't seen you around here in a while. Did you come for ingredients?" "Actually, I came to talk to Ethan. Is he in?" "He is. He should be in the administration office. Want me to let him know you're here?" "No need. I know the way." Willow parked near the administration building and walked through the corridor she had frequented before, looking for fruits and vegetables. Now, knowing the truth about Ethan, everything seemed different. He wasn't just the owner of that place. He was someone who genuinely cared about the people who worked there, about the community, about her. She knocked on the office door and heard the familiar voice. "Come in." Ethan was bent over a desk full of papers, wearing reading glasses Willow had never seen. When he looked up and saw her standing at the door, his expression went through several emotions in a few seconds. Surprise, joy, caution. "Willow?" He stood up quickly, taking off his glasses. How are you? May I come in?" Of course, please sit." Ethan gestured to a chair across from the desk, but remained standing, visibly nervous. Willow sat down and observed the room for the first time with attention. The office was functional, but there were personal touches. Photos of the farm from different eras, a well-tended plant, and in the corner of the desk, to her surprise, the glass jar she had returned through Jesse. "Ethan, I need to apologize to you." He blinked, surprised. "Apologize? Willow, I should be. Please let me speak first." Willow took a deep breath. "This morning I had a visit from a lawyer, Attorney Benjamin Hayes." Ethan slowly sat down, understanding where the conversation was going. "He told me the truth about what happened at City Hall, about the conspiracy of the merchants, about you defending me." Willow felt her eyes well up with tears. "Ethan, I accused you of terrible things. I treated you as if you were my enemy when in fact you were the only person who fought for me. Willow, you didn't know. It was natural that you'd think." "No, it wasn't natural. It was pride. Wounded pride that blinded me to the truth." She wiped a tear that escaped. "You lied about who you were, it's true, but your actions showed who you really are. And I was so busy protecting my ego that I couldn't see it." Ethan leaned forward. "Willow, I understand why you reacted that way. I should have told you the truth from the beginning." "Why didn't you?" Ethan hesitated, searching for the right words. "Because for the first time in my life someone looked at me and saw only Ethan. Not the heir, not the businessman, not a business opportunity. Just a man who liked walking on the farm and was learning to make pumpkin spice jam. And you thought I'd change if I knew the truth? I did. And I wasn't completely wrong, was I? You changed when you found out." Willow nodded, acknowledging the truth in his words. "I changed. I got scared." "Scared of what?" "Of not being enough. Of you playing with me. Of being just an exotic distraction in your perfect life." Willow looked directly into his eyes, but most of all scared of falling in love with someone I thought could never truly love me. The silence that followed was charged with emotion. Ethan stood up and walked to the window, observing the farm landscape. "Willow, I don't have a perfect life. I have a programmed, controlled life, full of expectations I don't know if I want to fulfill. He turned to her. When I met you, I discovered what it means to live instead of just exist. And now, what does that mean for us? Ethan walked back to her. It means I want to try. For real this time. No lies, no disguises. I am Ethan Blackwood, billionaire, with a complicated family and responsibilities that sometimes suffocate me. But I'm also the man who learned to make jam in your kitchen and discovered that happiness can be as simple as a Sunday afternoon in rocking chairs. Willow smiled through her tears. And I'm Willow Vance, a stubborn sweetmaker who almost lost the love of her life because of excessive pride. Ethan extended his hand to her. Do you want to start over? No rush, no expectations, just seeing where this takes us? Willow took his hand, feeling the strength and softness of those fingers she now knew better. I do. But this time promise you won't try to solve my problems without consulting me? I promise. And you promise you won't run away at the first sign of difficulty? I promise. Ethan smiled, and Willow saw in him the same man she had met walking on the road that March night. Vulnerable, genuine, looking for his place in the world. The difference was that now she knew he had found that place beside her. A week after the reconciliation, Ethan and Willow decided to face their first big test, the monthly Blackwood family dinner. Ethan had canceled the last 2 times, but he knew he couldn't avoid it forever. Are you sure about this? Willow asked, adjusting her simple but elegant dress. We can wait a little longer. Willow, if we're going to be truly together, my family needs to meet you. They were at Ethan's penthouse, and Willow watched his nervousness as he adjusted his tie for the 3rd time. It was strange to see him like this. The man who managed an empire was anxious about a family dinner. Ethan, relax. I'm just a person wanting to meet your family. It's just, they can be a bit formal. Willow laughed. Formal I can handle. The drive was silent. Ethan drove tensely, and Willow noticed how the neighborhood changed. Larger houses, elaborate gardens, until they reached an imposing estate. Eleanor greeted them at the door, elegant as always, but with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Ethan, dear. She kissed his cheek and turned to Willow. And you must be Willow. What a pleasure to meet you. The pleasure is mine, Mrs. Sterling. Thank you for having me. The dining room was intimidating. A table for 12, glittering crystals, old paintings. Besides Eleanor, there were 2 of Ethan's aunts and their husbands, all formally dressed. During the first course, the conversation flowed on safe topics. Willow politely answered questions, feeling the weight of their evaluating gazes. Willow, Ethan told us you make sweets, Aunt Helen said. How interesting. Is it a stable profession? It's work I love. I learned from my grandmother. How romantic, Uncle Robert commented with a less than sincere tone. Do you plan to expand? Perhaps a bakery? Ethan noticed the trap. Willow has plans for growth, but she prefers to build with her own hands. Admirable, Eleanor said. But don't you think sometimes we need to accept help to achieve goals? Willow understood she was being tested. I accept help when it comes from the heart and doesn't compromise my dignity. There's a difference between support and dependence. An uncomfortable silence. Ethan looked at Willow with admiration. She had defended herself with elegance. Willow, Eleanor said after a few minutes, may I be direct? Of course. What do you expect from this relationship? I expect to build something real with Ethan, based on mutual respect and genuine love. And are you prepared for the responsibilities that come with the Blackwood name? Willow took a deep breath. Mrs. Sterling, I understand your concerns. But Ethan isn't just a surname. He's a kind man who deserves to be happy. And yes, I'm prepared to face any challenge by his side. Eleanor studied Willow for a long moment. Do you truly love him? I do. Not for what he has, but for who he is. The dinner ended on a milder note. As they said goodbye, Eleanor pulled Willow aside. Willow, you are brave, but ask yourself, are you prepared for what it means to be with a Blackwood? The pressures never stop. Mrs. Sterling, I think love is exactly what's been missing in this family. And yes, I'm prepared to fight for it. In the car, Ethan took Willow's hand. Thank you for your courage, your honesty. That was intense. But I understand better why you felt suffocated. And you still want to stay? Willow smiled. Ethan, If I can survive the farmer's market every Sunday, I can survive a few family gatherings." Ethan laughed, feeling lighter. For the first time, he was sure he had found someone willing to fight by his side. 3 months after the dinner at the Blackwood estate, Willow was back at the farmer's market with an even better spot than before. But this time, things were different. Ethan appeared on Sundays no longer as the mysterious employee, but as Ethan Blackwood, boyfriend of the town's most beloved sweetmaker. The transformation had been gradual but noticeable. The people who initially whispered and speculated now viewed the couple with respect and even admiration. Ethan had proven that his interest in Willow was genuine, and she had shown that she was not an opportunist looking for money. On that sunny June morning, Willow was organizing her sweets when she saw Ethan approach with a different expression, excitement mixed with nervousness. "Good morning, Dr. Sweetness," he teased, using the affectionate nickname he had created. "Good morning, Mr. Country Club," Willow retorted, laughing. "You look like you have news." "I do. But first," Ethan took a jar of pumpkin spice jam. "I need my weekly dose of happiness." Willow watched him eat the jam and noticed that he really did seem different. Lighter, more at ease with himself. The months of their relationship had changed both of them. She had become more confident, he more authentic. "Now tell me the news," Willow said, pouring coffee she always brought in a thermos. "Remember when you talked about your dream of having your own shop?" "I do." "Why?" Ethan took a deep breath. "I found the perfect location. It's a historic downtown building, needs renovation, but it has an industrial kitchen on the ground floor and a spacious retail area." Willow stopped stirring her coffee. "Ethan, wait, let me finish. I'm not offering to buy it for you. I'm suggesting we be partners." "Partners?" "I'll provide the initial capital and you the expertise and labor. We'll split the profits 50-50. You'll still be the owner of your sweets, I'll just help with the administrative and financial side." Willow was silent, processing the proposal. In recent months, Ethan had learned to respect her independence, always consulting her before taking any initiative that involved her. "How would it work in practice?" "You'd be the chef and general manager. I'd handle the bureaucracy, contracts, legal matters. But all important decisions would be made together." Willow leaned forward, interested. "What if it doesn't work out? What if the partnership affects our relationship? Then we'll have learned that some things don't mix. But I have faith that won't be the case." Ethan took her hand. "Willow, in the last few months you've taught me that it's possible to combine business with heart. I want to reciprocate by helping you achieve your dream. Can I see the location?" "Of course. I scheduled a visit for Monday if you're up for it." That afternoon they closed the stall early and went for a stroll downtown. They walked hand in hand through the town square, where they had had their misunderstanding months before, observing the changes that time had brought. "Ethan, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Are you happy?" "Truly." Ethan stopped walking and looked at her. "Do you know what difference you made in my life?" Willow shook her head. "Before I met you, I existed. I fulfilled obligations, met expectations, managed businesses, but I didn't live." He caressed her face. "You taught me that life is made of small moments, like making sweets on a Sunday afternoon or chatting nonsense over coffee at the farmer's market. You also taught me important things." "Like what?" "That having big dreams isn't forbidden for people like me, that I can accept help without losing my dignity, and that true love doesn't want to change you. It wants to help you be the best version of yourself." They kissed there in the square, under the same sky where they had met, but now as completely different people than they were months ago. "Willow," Ethan said when they separated, "regardless of what you decide about the partnership, I want you to know one thing." "What?" "You're already my partner in life, and that's the best partnership I've ever made." Willow smiled, her heart filled with a certainty she had never experienced before. Not just about Ethan, but about herself, about the future they could build together. "Ethan?" "Yes?" "I think I'll accept your partnership proposal, but with one condition." "What is it?" "You remain my #1 customer on market Sundays. Some traditions we just can't lose." Ethan laughed and kissed her again, knowing he had found not only the love of his life, but the perfect partner for all the projects yet to come. 6 months after their first encounter on the road, Willow's Delights had become more than just a shop. It was a town gathering spot. The renovated building combined rustic charm with modern functionality. Reclaimed wood counters, glass jars organized like works of art, and the constant aroma of cinnamon and burnt sugar that drew customers from blocks away. Willow was in the industrial kitchen preparing a special order when Ethan arrived for the lunch they had planned. He found her concentrated, stirring a large pot of caramel spread, wearing the floral apron she still used, a reminder of her farmer's market days. "How's our executive chef?" he asked, kissing her sweaty forehead. "Stressed but happy. The Henderson wedding order got bigger than we expected. 500 delicate wedding cookies by tomorrow." Ethan observed the bustling kitchen. 2 employees Willow had hired worked in harmony, one preparing gourmet fudge, the other assembling dessert arrangements. The environment breathed efficiency, but also affection, just as Willow had dreamed. "Need help with anything?" "Actually, yes. There's an administrative problem I can't solve alone." Ethan straightened up, concerned. "What kind of problem?" Willow smiled, wiping her hands on her apron. "The problem of choosing which of the 3 expansion proposals to accept." "3 proposals?" "City Hall wants me to have a permanent spot in the new food court. The mall offered a space on the ground floor. And," Willow paused dramatically, "I received an invitation to participate in a television program about women in business." Ethan looked at her with admiration. "Willow, that's incredible. And which one do you want to accept?" "All of them. But I know that's not feasible." She sat on a high stool. "Ethan, sometimes I'm afraid I'm dreaming too big. 6 months ago I was losing my spot at the farmer's market. And look where you've come. By your own merit. It wasn't just my merit. You helped me believe it was possible." Ethan approached and took her hand, still slightly sweet with sugar. "Willow, can I tell you a secret? Always. When I was a kid, my dad used to take me to see the family businesses. Farms, factories, offices. Everywhere people treated me like the little heir. I hated that. Why? Because I wanted to be recognized for what I did, not for what I inherited." Ethan smiled. "Watching you build all this, I understood that it's possible to succeed while being authentic. You inspired me to change the way I manage the family businesses." "How so?" "I started visiting employees more, getting to know their stories, understanding their needs. I implemented a support program for small rural entrepreneurs. And guess what I discovered?" Willow shook her head. "That the best businesses are those where everyone wins. Like our partnership." At that moment, one of the employees approached with a tray of freshly baked sweets. "Ms. Willow, can you taste these? I tried to make your grandmother's recipe." Willow tasted it, and her face lit up. "Perfect, Carla. It tastes just like Grandma's." Observing the scene, Ethan realized something beautiful was happening. Willow wasn't just realizing her dream. She was perpetuating a tradition, teaching other women, creating opportunities. "Willow," he said when they were alone again, "I have a suggestion about the proposals." "What?" "How about we start small? We accept the spot in the food court, but as a test. If it works, we expand. And about the TV show, what do you think?" "I think you have an inspiring story to tell. You can help other people believe in their own dreams." Willow was silent, considering. "And you? How does our relationship fit with all this hustle?" Ethan laughed. "Willow, do you think after everything we've been through I'd abandon you now that you're succeeding? I want to be here for every victory, every challenge, every new recipe you invent. Even if that means less time for us, it means different time. But look," Ethan gestured around the shop, "this is ours too. Every sweet you make, every satisfied customer's smile, every employee you teach. All of this is part of what we've built together." Willow stood up and hugged him tightly. "Ethan, there's something I never told you." "What?" "That first night when I offered you a ride, I had a strange feeling. Like I'd known you for a long time. I felt the same way. I think we recognized each other. 2 people looking for authenticity in a world full of facades." Ethan kissed her softly. "And we found it in each other." From the shop counter came voices of satisfied customers, the pleasant sound of a busy afternoon. Willow and Ethan remained embraced in the kitchen, knowing they had built something far greater than a business or a relationship. They had built a new way of living, where success and simplicity could coexist, where love and ambition complemented each other, where the past honored the future without limiting it. And this was just the beginning. 2 years after their first meeting on the road, Willow woke up to the familiar smell of coffee being brewed in the kitchen. It was a sunny Sunday in March, and she knew exactly where Ethan would be, on the back porch of the house they had bought together, tending the small herb garden they cultivated. The house was a perfect middle ground between their two worlds, comfortable without being ostentatious, spacious but cozy. In the garden grew the same herbs Willow used in her sweets, and Ethan had planted a guava tree in honor of our first sweet together, as he joked. "Good morning, farmer," Willow said, kissing his cheek and settling into the chair beside him. "Good morning, successful entrepreneur." Ethan poured coffee into 2 ceramic mugs, wedding gifts they had chosen together at a local artisan shop. Willow watched the street activity through the half-open gate. Children played on the sidewalk, neighbors watered gardens. Life followed its natural Sunday rhythm in the small town. But now she was part of this landscape in a different way, no longer as the sweet maker struggling to survive, but as someone who had found her place in the world. "What time do the boys arrive?" Ethan asked, referring to the 5-year-old twin sons Willow had adopted the year before. "At 10. Aunt Carol said they're eager to help in the kitchen today." Ethan smiled. The arrival of Liam and Finn into their lives had been another proof of how in sync they were. When Willow expressed a desire to adopt, Ethan didn't hesitate to support her. Now the boys were the center of attention on Sundays, always covered in flour and smiles as they helped make cookies. "Ethan," Willow said suddenly, looking at the guava tree that was starting to bear fruit, "do you remember the first time someone asked us if we were happy?" "I do. It was that reporter from the TV show. And you were speechless, because at the time I was still learning what it meant to be happy." Ethan took her hand. "Today, I'd know how to answer. And what would the answer be? That happiness isn't a permanent state. It's a choice we make every day, choosing to see the good in people, valuing simple moments, building something greater than ourselves." Willow nodded, remembering the journey they had taken. Willow's Delights now had 3 locations in town and 2 full-time employees. The TV show had resulted in a cookbook that had become a regional bestseller. Ethan had revolutionized the farm's administration, creating cooperatives that benefited small local producers. But what they were most proud of was seeing how their story had inspired other couples to overcome social differences and prejudices. They received letters from people who identified with their journey, who found the courage to fight for authentic relationships. "Willow," Ethan said suddenly, "there's something I never told you about that night on the road." "What?" "When I saw you pull over to help me, I thought, good people still exist in the world. I never imagined you'd be the person who taught me to be good people too. Ethan, you were always a good person. You were just lost among others' expectations. And you helped me find myself." The sound of animated voices interrupted their conversation. Liam and Finn came running through the garden, still in their pajamas, followed by Aunt Carol. "Daddy Ethan, Mommy Willow, can we make cookies?" they shouted in unison, throwing themselves into their parents' arms. "Of course we can," Willow replied, hugging them both. "But first, breakfast. And you two a bath and clean clothes." As the children ran into the house, Ethan and Willow watched the scene with smiles on their faces. "Do you know what I love most about our life?" Willow asked. "What?" "That we haven't lost our essence. You're still the man who likes to walk on the farm early in the morning. I still make sweets using Grandma's recipes. But now we have a family, purpose, a future." Ethan pulled her closer. "And we have a story to tell." "What story?" "That 2 people from different worlds can meet on any road and discover that true love doesn't want to change us. It wants to help us flourish." Later, as they taught Liam and Finn to make cinnamon cookies in the kitchen, Willow had a moment of absolute clarity. There was everything she had always dreamed of without knowing it. A family united by affection, work that made sense, love that withstood all tests. Ethan, observing the organized chaos of the kitchen, flour scattered, children's laughter, Willow patiently explaining each step of the recipe, understood that he had found his definition of wealth. It wasn't in bank numbers or inherited properties. It was in those simple moments, in that love built day by day, and that certainty that he had chosen correctly. When the sun set that Sunday, the 4 of them sat on the porch eating still warm cookies. Liam told an invented story about dragons who made sweets. Finn laughed until he was breathless. Willow listened attentively, pretending to believe every word, and Ethan photographed everything mentally, Daddy Ethan, Liam said suddenly, are you and Mommy Willow going to be together forever? Ethan looked at Willow, who smiled with the same sweetness as on their first night. Forever, Liam. Because when you find your heart's family, you never want to be apart again. And as the stars began to appear in the small town sky, the four remained there, united by the strongest bond that exists, the love that chooses to stay, grow, and inspire others to believe in the beauty of new beginnings.